Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 422nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, March 3rd, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the Public Teachings in English. My name's Rick Cremond. I'll be a host today, and we are hosting Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation once again, and I think he's ready to present today's workshop. How would you like to proceed, Mr. Keshe?
Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of knowledge of Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute. Today's teaching is more or less, we have decided to break to put it as usual that every few months we allow knowledge seekers to ask questions, to clarify some points and to add to the knowledge as we share knowledge and we learn from each other and we share with each other part of the knowledge and what is the process of the knowledge of the space technology which will bring to us a beautiful time. We are here if any of you have any questions to ask. Otherwise, we go directly into the teaching. It would be nice to be able to share more in-depth knowledge in what we see around us, what we see around the world, and what we see to becoming of the incoming knowledge and what is to be shared by us in respect to each other's knowledge, with respecting each other's what we call intellect. Are there any questions? And if not, we go straight away into teaching.
Oh, we have a hand up here from Ike. Would you like to start off, Ike?
Yes. Good day, Mr. Keshe. Long time. Hydrogen 14. I'm struggling to. I'm carbon 14. Sorry.
Yes.
Carbon 14. I'm struggling to understand. No, that's different. It's carbon 14. That tells you that I'm still confused on it. I'm struggling to understand how to make carbon 14 and the applications in future.
Carbon 14 is one of the easiest things to make, even easier than hydrogen. But it has a process, it has a systematic, what we call progressive understanding of the creation of atoms, creation of plasmas. If you're looking in carbon 14 as a matter state, I would like to see you from the point of the universe was created. We do not see carbon 14 in the universe as a matter state. We see carbon 14 as an energy transfer. Behavior of the carbon 14, but not in a matter state. It's a cosmic entity. We can convert it with some conditions into its matter state or its in Ganser state. But primarily, the way from the space plasma technology we look at it, we don't go out to fundamentally, physically hold carbon 14. We look for behavior of carbon 14. Transfer of, connection of, interaction of fields. Carbon 14, it's got the peculiar characteristics which in a way it gives, it takes, and it keeps constant energy transfer. This is the beauty about carbon-14, where in most of the matter state conditions, we look for the decay, nuclear decay, to transfer from carbon to whatever else. Carbon-14 is an energy transfer condition which never decays. It keeps its entity as a plasma field in giving and taking and holding on to. So it becomes line of communication, line of transfer. It can span one carbon-14, field conversion, connection, stability across one universe. This is what we look in a space technology as a carbon-14. We are now looking in the matter state of carbon-14. In a way, behavior of, in a way, everlasting diamond structure, which means nothing can destroy it. But in a structure of the fields, can receive, can give, and can maintain its existence as a plasma. So if you look to make carbon-14 and hold on to it in a matter state, sometimes you can succeed, but essentially it's not needed. The future scientists will understand that carbon-12 is a matter state of the entity connection fields in the dynamic life, like in the body of the man. In the space is the plasma of it without dimension, which does the same thing. And why do you need a carbon-14 in the space? Is that free space line of connection. When we talk about carbon-6, carbon, what we call the neutron, protons, and electrons in combination of carbon-12, we look at carbon-7 in a, if you bring it into a dimension of matter state, you have one loose electron in the outer boundary, which has to cover the whole of the inside. If you look at it, bring in the second ring as to be one plasma, one neutron, or one proton. That seventh electron with that neutron plasma center or proton plasma center behaves like a hydrogen. And because of the stability inside, is a very, very stable. Because you have already locked all the electrons together, you have already locked all the protons and neutrons together. So in a matter state, but if you look at the plasma state of the same entity, we are looking in the field flow line, which as that electron covers the whole of the, what we call the neutron center. Explain it this way. You have the, this guy's been way too long. When you take the whole of the electrons and protons and the 6 neutrons and everything inside, now this extra electron behaves as a hydrogen, but a dynamic hydrogen, which in that state can flow anywhere, even the span of a universe. Is energetic in the dimension of the field flow because in its plasma state has slightly different characteristics. It extends the field on its own, which in connection with the totality of the plasma of the universe allows it to extend its tentacles right across. And we find this combination usually connecting to everything. Carbon in a gas state in the body of the man in reality behaves as carbon-14. Carbon in a matter state, you have 12. But because carbon in Mr. Cohen is in a gas state, in plasma state, your carbon here doesn't behave this way. It behaves this way. And this is one of the reasons the minute I touch you on the toe, your brain says something is happening down there because of this property characteristics of carbon-14. But you look at it as a carbon, what we call 12, because you always consider that carbon-12. It is a carbon-12 if you call it, but behaves as carbon-14. This is one of the reasons when you see the amino acid, you see the interconnection between all of them. You see that shininess. That shininess is a reflection of the carbon-14, more or less, in condition of communication. Sorry, I lost my microphone. So, if you are looking for actual physical carbon-14, you might achieve it sometime, it can be done. But in plasma technology, in the space technology, in the structure of the human body, in the structure of the planets, we see that carbon-14 behavior, but carbon-12 by name, because we always consider carbon-12. You got to realize one simple thing. We are a cosmos. Our body, if you count how many cells are in your body, you are a galaxy. Don't look at just because you got 2 legs and 2 arms and you walk around. You're any different than a galaxy which you see in the cosmos. The only difference between human body and the guy up there in the deepest space is you're compacted. Body of the man is a universe. It's just a galaxy in the universe on its own. But because we use it, we live with it, we don't consider it. How many cells do you have? How many cells cluster to make something else? How many cells and what you call cell are made of how many gases to give that single cell? And I'll put all the heart, the liver, God knows every part of your body. Human body is a working galaxy, it's a working universe. But because it's ours, we are born with it, we don't consider it. And this universe works, communicates, lives, interacts internally with itself through behavior of carbon-14. Communication, unlimited. You put your foot on the nail, immediately your brain says, you're done. You feel the pain. Because of the behavior of carbon-14 as part of your amino acid, especially neurosystem. So try to understand how you make carbon-14 in the space technology. I don't look for it. In the space technology, I look for behavior of it, connection of it. I was with one of the beautiful knowledge seekers a couple of days ago in London, and I was explaining this to him. And I told him, do not share. And it's strange that you bring the topic up. And it's how we see, how we perceive this position, how we gather this interaction of the fields, and try to understand if you're dealing with a matter state or a plasma state or manifestation of the plasma in a matter state we call gas. Then it's different. Then it is completely away from what we talk about carbon-14, and we try to make it. You make carbon-14 in the matter state, behaves like a matter of the carbon. You can make behavior of carbon-12 to become carbon-18 in a very simple way. And it's what I gave you in very early teachings, but a lot of you don't see it. Carbon-14 belongs to communication in a plasmatic cosmos Gans state. Carbon-12 is where you see the effect of it in the matter state. You can't convert carbon-14 to behave, 12 to behave like carbon-14, but soon itself, due to its environment, will take the characteristic of carbon-14, or what you call graphene. Graphene, you have to understand, is a matter state of it. When we speak at carbon-14, we speak about the plasmatic deep space travel, deep space communication, instant communication. You can't do that with putting graphene next to each other. You get a superconductor, you're back again in resistance magnetic field condition. As I always said, birds with birds, foxes with foxes. You got to understand the difference. The freedom to be connected is the bird. The fox has got still 2 legs, four legs locked to the ground in the matter state. And you have to understand the difference and what you want to do with it, how you create it. When we create carbon-14, our reactors from condition of health or whatever in a plasmatic condition in enhancement centers changes into the flight system. And this is the beauty of understanding technology and understanding the knowledge of the interaction. Any other question? I hope
Thank you.
you explained. I hope you understood.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other question?
Thank you, Mr. Kesh. I'll remind our attendees here that they, in the Zoom chat, that they can put up their virtual hands and we can open your microphone. We have a person here, Nicola, I think is the name. Would you like to go ahead?
Okay, hello. I'm Nicola
Hello.
from
From where? Sorry.
Serbia.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question about the works of David R. Hawkins. First of all, have you heard of him?
Nope.
Okay. I just want to share my knowledge of his works with you really, really briefly. And it's about a method called muscle testing, which my partner and I have been using for about 2 years. And so far it's been our only compass to test whether something is true or not in this world we live in. And the method is formally known as kinesiology.
Oh, yes, I know that. Yeah.
I'm wondering if you use how you access truth yourself. I'm assuming you have really high level of instincts at this point in time. But do you use any similar method, or how do you, as a
No,
advanced scientist, approach this?
this what you're talking about, I understand. I've heard a lot about it. I've seen a lot of people using it. Some of our knowledge seekers use it and they convert it into certain kind of emotion or reaction in their body or movement of something within their structure, physical structure, says yes, this is good or it's not bad. And one of our leading knowledge seekers relies on this instinct of good and bad, or if it works or doesn't work. We don't have that in plasma technology. In plasma technology, we accommodate everything. If to you is not good, what benefit creates for the others? Or do we always look at ourselves, what I call the principle of me, and everything has to react that I can see, I can have something in it or react with it. I make a move, and would that move be beneficial to me or creates benefit for somebody else? That's all it matters. As long as I don't make a move to damage myself or somebody else. What you think, you do, and you say, okay, it's good for me to. Who is going to lose in what you gain? Or you work the way the universe works. You accommodate that everybody benefits by it. It doesn't have a room in the space technology of today. If I understood you correctly and I answered you exactly what I think it is, because we had this discussion some time ago in one of the teachings. And I know one of our leading knowledge seekers, he swears by it. I hope I answered you.
I'm not sure if I understood your answer very well. Actually, I did not understand it at all.
Let's go back to basic.
Hello, I think I've
to do with
lost.
your partner.
Sorry, we lost your audio briefly there, Mr. Kesh. At least I did. Say that again.
I said, can you explain your understanding of what you're trying to explain, you use, and then we try to explain the parallel with it in this space technology.
Okay. What I personally do is I make a ring on my right hand with my thumb and my index finger, and then I make a similar ring on my other hand. So I have two rings made by two fingers connected, and I personally just connect these rings one inside the other and try to pull them apart and break one of the rings. And I would just focus on any statement. For example, I can focus on a statement. I have more than 20 years I'm alive more than 20 years on this planet, and I can pull a finger. And if my instinct, my subconscious, my plasmatic energy in my body goes weak, and this ring breaks, it is an answer that is false. And the way me and my partner do it is we prefer to do blind testing. So our personal conscious cannot get involved and try to alter the answer. So she would actually imagine something, and I would just focus on whatever she is imagining. I don't know what she's imagining. And she would say, test. And I would pull a finger and tell her that was a yes or a no. And that's how we go about scientific approach.
Okay, let me explain. I understand. Now that's good to understand. Thank you very much. I go back to my childhood. When I was very young, we have a tradition in Iranian culture where when, for example, a child gets sick, we say they put a bad eye on it. And you try to find out who put the bad eye on. And traditionally, I remember my aunt getting uncooked egg and putting it between two thumbs and the two fingers or index finger, the other one next to it, and press it. You could press this egg for ages, it wouldn't crack. And in that process, was it the neighbor next door? Was it the cousin? Was it the donkey down the road or so? And whatever. And you press and press. And then you say, oh, the grandfather, and the egg cracks. Oh, it was a grandfather who gave, well, put a bad eye. So what do you call this? I've seen this from childhood. And it is what we perceive to be. In the space technology, in understanding the work of the emotion of the body of the man, we don't have this. It's impossibility to have this. When you put a magnet amongst other magnets, all the magnets move to accommodate the new magnet. So when the new accommodation is made, everything is satisfied. Every need of every magnet is met with all the interactions with others. This is the accommodation. This is how we can't say, I put a magnet in, if it sticks and jumps on that one, this is a guilty magnet, and he's the one who was whatever. It does not exist in the plasma technology. You giving it a new name, but I've seen this from the day I opened my eyes, because is what we call khurafat in Farsi. It's one of these things you believe in, and I've seen it used frequently in childhood. And the reverse of it is you put a pen in there, what do you call it, in a doll. It's the same thing. But does it transfer to be because you are? Or does it transfer that interacts with the fields which you create unknowingly or knowingly? You move into the subconscious of the fields interaction. Then your finger opens up. One of our knowledge seekers, he decides the condition of everything he does through plasma systems he uses this way. So he has created the condition of emotion, feeling, if it's right or wrong. It's just, if I feel that in my heart, it means I go. If I don't feel it, I don't go. I don't use the system that way or whatever. How do you transfer the knowledge into an egg or a ring of two fingers or a heartbeat or emotion in the back of the throat? Is where we perceive, we trust that we'll see a physical manifestation of what we want to believe. It does not work in the world of the plasma, in the work of the, what we call interaction of the fields. But we are going through a process. I'm sure, as we've seen with our knowledge seekers, they try to combine the two. You use a ring of two fingers. Other people use all sorts of things and say, if it does, it means good. If it doesn't go, it's bad. We have a belief that if you sneeze, you don't go. In Iran, is sacrosanct with many people. If you're leaving the house, for example, to go somewhere and you sneeze, you say, stop, wait, something is going to happen or something is wrong. People come back in, sit down, have a cup of tea, and then they go. Is your sneezing the same? The sneezing is the same as your, what do you call it? The two fingers. It's us who creates that condition for us to convert the emotions to physicality that we believe in. Maybe you have a very strong emotion, which is the sense of field, and converts that into your finger, yes, no, do that, don't do that. And you believe in it and you live by it. So you convert the emotion, which is the plasmatic fields, into the physicality of the fingers. It's been going on this for thousands of years. You don't need somebody to write with it or to write about it, but it's a phenomenon of fundamental knowledge I remember from childhood. And I'm sure in every culture we have this. Now they put it in a book to a finger or whatever. If you can convert the emotion, which is a field, into your finger, is blocked due to fields interaction information from your brain. If you see it that way, so be it. If it gives you the comfort to be, yes, but in plasma technology, such a thing does not exist. You rely on what you do is correct for everything and everything which is within you.
How do you personally decide on what tests you make, or where would you say is the origin of your current advanced plasma knowledge? How do you decide what's true, what's not true yourself?
I don't work by true or not true. I work in what I do, what benefit gives, or what creation condition it creates. Positive for the others, not in what the structure you want to see it. I don't, in so many ways, when you work with the soul, when you understand the interaction of the emotion, you just interact with the others. You don't need to create that condition that what it'll be. Or would it work if I do it? Would it not work if I do? It's understanding that even your thoughts are part of the interaction of the fields. Then if the other person feels matches mine and what it needs to be done, the way I work will create that condition to be done. If you've been around the way I even live, people who are around me, they pull their hair. You take too much time. You don't do things. You know, we're on the verge and blah, blah, blah. And the last day, last minute, yeah, because I said it wasn't the time for it. Everything has to fit in. And if it doesn't happen now, today, it means it's not time for it. All the magnets have to move, that they're all comfortable. Not what I want counts. What is beneficial to all counts. So I don't have the dilemma which you have. But what you explain, I've seen from very first days I could understand the left and right hand. And we used to stand on the egg. We used to get the other cousins, push it and press it. It wouldn't break. We should be 4 hands pressing it. Egg doesn't break. We forgot about the grandfather and they go. Understanding even the motion of your hands to open up, your fingers to open up, is interaction of the fields of your emotion. And as that emotion have connection with what you want to do, personally want to be in touch with or whatever, that's what you have to understand. Then you see the answer. I don't look at the finger movement. I look at what created that condition to get the finger moved, what field was created. So we go one step behind, but you're in order. We look at the principal interaction, not the physical manifestation. Interaction of the fields. And you rely on it. I've seen many times knowledge seekers shake to the legs. It's just, why do you take so long? Why do you have so much patience? Because it's not time for it. It's not ready for it. When the time comes, you will see, you will understand. Because we see what needs to be done for that time to be. But you want to shortcut it with the finger. It's all to do it, maybe. But you have to look what was behind which made my finger move. You can't move your fingers if your emotion, which is a field interaction, does not create that change in strength that one finger goes or that makes the egg break. You can stand an elephant on an egg if you get the right position, and then start asking the elephant to stand there to count all the aunts, the cousins and the uncles and the neighbors who put a bad eye on you. But the principle hasn't changed over centuries. It's just that now people find different ways of explaining it, and it makes sense to some people, or they see something and then they start believing it. Believe in yourself, and believe in what you do is there for the progressive development. Whatever it is, it's done. You don't need the fingers. Any other question?
Okay, we have several people with hands up here. Jackie, would you like to go next? And then Azar? Hello, Jackie. Can you open your mic if you wish to ask a question? Okay, maybe you'll, I think the hand came down. So let's go to Azar.
Good afternoon, Mr. Keshe. Good afternoon, everyone. Mr. Keshe, do you mind if I say something about this to Nicola?
Yes, we are here all to learn.
Okay, so I'm Nicola. I'm familiar with David Hawkins' knowledge and what he did, because when he was a child, he was a delivery boy for newspaper, and then he got into an icy storm, and he kind of came out of his body. That's why he was touched by the Creator himself, and then he could actually just look at some of the patients in hospital, and completely make them well. And people would come from all around the world that doctors couldn't figure out what's going on, and he could just do it. If you okay, so the plasma science, the science Mr. Keshe brought, is a knowledge of creation. Actually, encompasses everything else that we already learned. So when you and I go back to that muscle testing, what happens if you go back to the Tibetan gurus, all the monks, the sages, they had this knowledge that Mr. Keshe brought. So if we go back to that and say stay with the muscle testing, what would happen? We kind of limit ourselves. Why? Because you already put yourself in a limited position that I want to know this is correct or not correct. But I compare, I researched a little bit about Tibetan gurus in the past. And then what they did, they had the same knowledge. They had, they call it prana, the same thing as a neutron, proton, and electron. They could actually, they kind of master it. They could be in many places at the same time. They could transmute element. They could change matter, and they could do all that. Why? Because they actually let the brain go. Let the mind go. When you let the mind go, we have to go back, because this is the problem with us, because the more information you gather about knowing, that's because the ego wants to know more, and we want to say, I know more. But then we have to go back and lose all that knowing, become like a child. When you become like a child, like you don't know, then the creative within yourself, within us, start to bubble up. It start to tell us, actually, we don't even have to, because most of us in this world, because the way we were trained, we were educated, we were told by our parents, by our teachers, our society, that there's a certain way of lifestyle that we have to be safe in this world. So if you look at everybody who does anything, everything that people do is according to the financial gain. I hardly seen anybody does anything that is not financial gain in it. Some people who are artists, they go for it, and you see they don't have anything. But if we go back and unlearn this, the creative within us actually tells you go left, go right, and you would never stay without any home or food or anything, because you were born and the creative within you is always been taking care of you. But we lost that trust. And this knowledge that we have, the knowledge of Mr. Keshe brought, actually is kind of tell you, go back to yourself. Everything you want, which is within you. You can go read David Hawkins, Joe Dispenza. There's tons of different methods in the United States, and you can just, there are tons of them. They lecture and everything, and these are pieces. These are good, but these are actually a piece of that pie. I call Mr. Keshe's knowledge the whole pie. If we understand it, and it at times it gets complicated because we think it's a physics, it's complicated, but it's not complicated. It's not complicated at all. It's very simple. But what it is, if the ego takes over, we want to have more knowledge. We want to dig in more. We're going to dig in more. But we have to submissive the ego, like let go of the ego. That's the hardest part to do, because ego will come to the point that sometimes wants to really, really kill you even. It would take you to your death. That mind would take you to death because it doesn't want to give up that control or that situation, to let go that the creator within you is start to bubble up. So if you stay with those limited, you have to, I don't know if you're familiar with Mr. Keshe's knowledge, but if you understand the basic, the most important thing, at least for me, was go within yourself, because the information come within us is so spectacular that you cannot find it outside. No one can teach you that. That as you learn it, as you go with it, as you learn it, there are times, just like a baby who has started to walk, you fall down, you get up, you fall down. This bubble of connection with the creator happen. You find this immense of joy and the connectedness with everything. It goes away, and you will see the pulsation between the soul and physical soul. How you go from physical soul and soul constantly, and you can pinpoint it. My action was from physical soul, my action was from the soul. Even in your own writing, you can see when the soul is talking and when it's writing, when the physical soul is writing. You can actually see it. And also you start to see when people write, who is talking? Is the physicality talking or is the soul talking? And you see actually the entanglement of the humanity, that really they entangle themselves in such a bad way, but the beauty of everything, simplicity, is huge. The beauty of it, if we lose this mind that wants to know more and more and more, and say, look how much I know, and just say, look who I am. If you lose that, the beauty of whole humanity would come out. It's just spectacular. I just don't know how to explain it. But a spark of it start to come for you if you start doing it, and you would let go more and more. And this is what I realized with the gurus from the past. I see how amazing their work was. Like, they could be in a couple of places, they could actually be immersed in the universe. And some of them left their bodies and went to the universe because they didn't want to be here, because the beauty of creator was immense. Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much, Azhar. Any other comment? Any other
Okay,
questions?
We've got Alexandru. Would you like to open your mic?
Keshe, Rick, knowledge seekers, Hello to everyone, and thank you for hosting this. My name is Alexandru. I'm from Romania. I'm 27 years old. And although I don't have any medical studies, I wish to contribute to the knowledge as soon as possible. Can I please take part in the health webinars?
I don't understand what you're trying to tell us.
As far as I know, the health webinars are just for medical students and people from the medical field, right?
Are you a medical man? Are you one of medicine?
No, I'm not, but I
It's
think
not open to you. we deliberately done this, and at the moment the medical teaching is on hold. Doctor who's responsible for it is busy with other things, and we are going through the evolution of the opening of the enhancement centers, and we bring the teaching of the health application, wellness application, through doctors who can use the systems. But principally, we don't teach the health application to outside medical work. I teach a number of doctors privately for what they do, and I've done many. I teach many doctors case by case when they have. I work very close when there is a need to understand or whatever with Dr. Baropur in Iran, and there are a number of doctors we teach, but not in public. We don't share in public. If you're from Romania, as we said last time, Keshe Foundation is in course of negotiations and to open one of the largest production and the centers in Europe, in Romania. I was in Romania about a week ago to finalize this, and in this structure, we see development of the health applications and systems, and even there with the center, manufacturing center. Now we're in the process of what we call negotiation. Hopefully, should be completed in the coming weeks. We will not allow the technology health side to go outside the parameters of the doctors. We have reasons for it, mainly to protect you. And secondly, to be within the legal framework to work. As many of you know, they are after to create any kind of problems for new technologies that they can keep the status quo. So we teach the technology only to the health side, to doctors and the ones who can apply it directly, and they feed back to us. I think the Keshe Foundation Romania in next few weeks will announce recruitment, massive recruitment of the knowledge seekers in Romania. We know there is many of you, not just because you're knowledge seekers, you have to fulfill the criteria. Most probably Keshe Foundation bring one of his computer centers, what we call IT centers, into Romania very soon. As one of our friends was saying, the second language in Microsoft in US is Romanian, because the Romanians are very good at it. It's a fourth state or fifth state in the internet in Europe. And so you might see we'll be recruiting a large number of Romanians and outside Romania people, especially developing the health application and the software for health development in Romania.
I understand, and I'm excited about it, Mr. Keshe.
Thank you very much.
What if I would like to contribute to the knowledge sooner than that?
We are a matter of weeks away. But the premises we have taken is more or less is operational by taking over the key part of it. And soon then that is the process. There are knowledge seekers who use our name and then do all sorts of funny things with it. And then they think they are successful and they attach some names of their own into it. That is nothing to do with the Keshe Foundation. We've seen these things in Romania, but there are researchers which are going in Romanian universities. Some scientists are still using our technology for research and development. And you have to see how it fits in the coming weeks with the opening of the major factory in Romania. It's a huge place. It's a beautiful place. I flew there a couple of weeks ago to see it. And we'll open a new doors in what we call Eastern Bloc, what we call Romania, Bulgaria, and other places where we already have other research centers. But if you want to be part of it, especially knowledge seekers in Romania, there is a huge opportunity coming up for the Romanian knowledge seekers, people from Bulgaria and around that area. And we are not looking at the present situation, what's going on the borders of the political northern borders of the Romania, because overall, we are looking at the long-term plans of what we are doing. And we needed to have a base in what we call the old Eastern Bloc. And we have found, with the help of our legal team, the right place. And it will be announced by the Keshe Foundation in Romania very soon. We think we recruit about 1,000 people in this site by the end of the year.
That's great, Mr. Keshe.
If you are a knowledge seeker, you understand the work of the plasma the way we do as CANS, and you're a wizard in computer programming and writing softwares and creating apps for our doctors to use in the enhancement units coming up, we will announce to the what we call the consulting groups, which is putting the recruitment on the next few weeks, and it'll be advertised. Apply. We need knowledge seekers who understand this cross plasma and softwares and app making and connecting these to our systems and transfer of knowledge, quick transfer of knowledge. And I know Romanians are very good at it. I've seen a couple of what we call centers, computer centers, data centers in the past few months in Romania. Any other question?
Sure, Mr. Keshe, thank you.
Thank you very much. We are very active now that Corona has finished. Keshe Foundation and the American Keshe Foundation is trying to get back into it. At the moment, we have some small hiccups in our process. In Austria, with it, the same with other places which we are active. Any other question?
We've got a question in the Q&A from Freed, who asks, last week, Mr. Keshe, you alluded to skin aging quickly. It says, you alluded to skin. I guess you talked about the skin and how it can age quickly, aging quickly.
Yeah.
And so he mentions touching the skin with love seems to reverse this process. Then how can we counter the last 2 years when through Corona we were deprived hugely of skin contact? Could there be a product developed for the Keshe shop to help emotionally balance this?
If you use the cup one primarily, should satisfy the lack of that emotion. But you have to use a cup one with its amino acid. You take the amino acid, top of the cup away, keep it, and then when you wash your ganses, add to it. do not consume the amino acid on its own, because it has to create a balance within the structure of the body of the man. Any other question?
Okay, again, in the Q&A, we have a question by Alexandra from Brazil. With the constant use of cup 1 water, we lose our hunger and have no desire to eat. He's got 4 questions about this. The first question is, if we stop eating, our body becomes deficient in vitamins. What do we do in this case if we don't feel like eating?
Your body should never go with any deficiencies, because if you use a combination of GANS's energies, you will receive all of it directly as a combination. If you use monoenergetic or mono system, just cup 1 all the time and no other GANS waters or whatever, you become like Eskimos. You have one diet, or nations which have one food diet, or always meat, there are no vegetables. And body converts it. Body knows how to convert it. So it's not a problem in principle. You have to realize, when you go into the system of using gases, you have to preferably create a combination of energies, that you do not encourage the growth of one, what we call energy level in the body. There are many people who eat the same food all the time, no difference, day in, day out, but they're very healthy and they function perfectly. What's his name? Bill Gates, what I call guru. The old man, not Cyrus. What's his name? He's the second, or used to be the second richest man behind Bill Gates for some years. He eats the same burnt steak for decades, every night, nothing else. And the steak has to be burnt. And he eats day and night, day in, day out, the same food. But we see him to be one of the biggest performers in the financial world.
Was that Warren Buffett? That's what Caden is suggesting.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, this Buffett. He eats the same burnt steak in the same restaurant, more or less, for years and years. I knew the guy who used to live on chips and Coke, Coca-Cola, all his life. Nothing else. Pack of crisps and a Coca-Cola was a breakfast, lunch, and dinner for him. And salt and vinegar only. Any other question? The body converts, that's why you got the glands. Thalamus and thymus are there to create that condition. One does with the physical body of the man, one does with the energy from the brain and the soul. And when they match, they work.
Okay. Alexandra continues the second question. If 80% of our feeding comes from the environment, why do we feel hungry?
Because of that 20%.
20%. Yeah, I thought you would say that.
If you were supposed to get 100% from the food we eat, you can imagine the size of the plate. If 20, it's very strange, when you live in China, it puzzled me, it baffled me for a long, it's a puzzle, it's just a joy to see. When you go for breakfast, Chinese eat. The pencil, but by God, they eat 4 times what I eat. and you see they fill up the plate. Comes lunchtime, they eat again the same amount. Come dinner time, they eat the same amount, but they don't put any weight on. They don't put this to the skinny, this is the pencil size. Because when you eat so much, the body has to work to get rid of what do you call it, the food. And the secret with the Chinese being slim, most of them, just watch how much green tea they drink. They carry it in their bags, they carry it everywhere in the bottles. They're forever sipping at green tea. And if you understand the structure of the green tea, you see they're taking GANs energy day and night. So whatever is gone in extra food body has to work to get rid of, because the energy they need has already gone in with the green tea, what it needs to be converted. Because the difference between the green tea, as all of you know, and the black tea is that the green tea, the day is harvest, is roasted on literally nano coating the top layer of the leaf. So you have ganses, you nano coat your ganses. When you make the tea, it's like you have got these copper plates. Now it goes in energy with the water, releases the energy, you get ganses in the water, energy in the water, and that gives you what you need. You want to lose, if you read on most of the green teas, is not a slimming, but if you understand it, you can drink full cup of green tea day and night. And the Chinese have different ways of making this green tea, and there are different approaches to it. But primarily, it's a nanotechnology, which they understand and they do. And you lose weight. You can eat everything, but that cup of green tea does. If you have breakfast in the morning, try to drink green tea with it, and you'll see how you feel during the day. And carry the green tea with you. I lived in China for 2-3 years, and I've watched the secret of green tea and how they process it, how they can drink it. And they never drink cold water. They always drink warm, which means the energy transfer is already, the body temperature is done. The body doesn't need to work on it, and it loses the energy of it. When you sit around the table with the Chinese with me, they pull their hair out. I love ice cold water. And they go crazy. They drink body temperature, warm, look, green tea, and the transfer of energy is there. So body is already balanced. Whatever you put in it, the body has to bend to use it to get rid of the energy is taken. So this is.
Okay, we have a third question. How
That's
can
what
we?
the maximum was to.
Well,
Anyway.
it's 2 times 2 in this case. How can we educate ourselves about feeding in the future? By removing some foods?
The feeding with a new technology comes through understanding in the future of interaction of the fields. And how these fields are going to interact and what they deliver. Look at, if you go back to the Chinese space reactors, which were built in South China Sea, in Sanya, 40 years ago now nearly, you notice that we all explained many times, the balls at the bottom lost their colors, all the CH3 colors, all the hydrogen colors, everything was gone to energy being transferred. And you can do the same. Life, existence, is understanding of the energy transfer of the fields and their strength from one point to another. If you go a step further, you can do a lot of things with cancers in respect to feeding. And then you can see the changes of it, what it brings to you. Now we're going into the full blast research and development in Keshe Foundation and production. We will introduce these products into the market very rapidly. But you got to realize, we went through the teaching, we went through research, we went through developing. And now the research, the development, and mass production manufacturing is the ultimate and the next phase for the Keshe Foundation. All the ideas you have, how do you feed the man in a disaster zone? Very soon we'll show you. There are developments the scientists have developed using the nanotechnology and plasma technology, and using understanding of cosmic rays and the rest of it, which can provide food and sustenance for life for every one of us. The time for a major breakthrough in plasma technology has arrived, and we are there to greet it and share it. We're keeping a very, what we call, close, tight to our chest, and not going out anywhere till the time is right. And I think the time is right for it to be opened up in the next few weeks. Any other question?
Last question from Alexandra. As you've already partly answered, I think, but specifically, can our feeding, the type of food, interfere in transmutation and levitation?
Yes. You have to choose the right plasmas for the right application and for the right purpose. Yes, it does.
So before we go to
space, how you divide it. Pardon?
Before we go to space, certain last meals would not be appropriate, let's say.
How you become Christ, is it? The Last Supper. The last time you eat till you come back to Earth and put something in your mouth. And you could be for thousands of years traveling the depth of the universe and not eating it.
So whatever you eat last, you'll be stuck with that for thousands of years. Better think carefully about what do you want to have as your passenger with you.
In a way, I presume yes, because it is coming up. I was in the Keshe Foundation factory this afternoon, and it's amazing, and I can see how the new what you call vision and emotion systems can be used to feed the body of them. And I was standing looking at them, they're coming off the production line. And it's just how we're going to bring this into public domain for people to understand and be there. You can go into these systems, in a way, receive the energy from the soul level and feed the physicality and walk away for days and weeks without eating. Depends how we load it. But these systems are real. I will show you the mass production of it. This is just coming up. It's getting there. We feed the soul, and the soul feeds the physicality, and this is what we said for a long, long time. Now we are creating the systems for it. Maybe it changes the emotion, maybe it brings other dimensions into play. Any other question?
Yes, we have a hand up here with Giancarlo. Giancarlo, I think, might be a rough approximation of the pronunciation there. Can you open your microphone and go ahead? Giancarlo is did you want to ask a question or make a comment?
Pronto? Attiva audio. Mi senti?
Carlo is,
Se allora lui deve
Italian.
ask a question or make a comment.
Giancarlo mi sa che ha aperto la...
Sì, good morning, mi
Ok, allora
sentite?
tornate, ragazzi, siete un attimo.
Mi senti? Sì.
Oh,
I am Giancarlo from Italy.
we got
Good
it.
morning.
Good morning. Good
I
afternoon.
am
Good
trying
evening.
to experiment with a method of energy evaluation of GANs. I tried to evaluate GANs obtained from nanocovering with caustic soda from materials such as sage. But it seems to me that the energy of GANs is there, but the characteristics of sage are largely lost. So I too of a correspondence between GANs, plasma fields, and the 50 essence of alchemist. In a test of 1200 of Persian origin, it is said, when we have the 50 essence, you can derive every other 50 essence from what you will place on it. It would seem that by mixing a plant with the GANs, they can get its characters. Or that the GANs can be used as a mobile phone research. Is possible? Mi sono fatto capire?
He said if you understand what he said.
Non ha capito?
No capisce.
No, I didn't understand. No, non ha capito, non ha capito.
Se lo dico a te?
Sì, dimmelo a me proprio piano, pezzo per pezzo, così io lo posso tradurre.
Sto provando a sperimentare una valutazione dell'energia dei GANs.
Okay. He tried to experiment how to measure the energy of the GANs. Vai pure.
Allora, te lo dico in italiano allora.
Sì, tu dimmelo in italiano e poi io lo traduco.
Ho provato a valutare GANs ottenuti da una nanocopertura con
Aspetta. He tried to measure the energy of these GANs that he obtained from this nano coating.
Covering with soda caustic.
Con la soda caustica.
What
Sì.
material has it nano coated?
Da materiali tipo salvia.
He nano coated the salvia, like the leaf.
Ma mi sembra che l'energia del GANS ci sia, ma le caratteristiche della salvia sono perse.
He thinks that the energy of is there of the GANs, but the property of the salvia, he thinks they're gone. He thinks.
Posso continuare? Allora ho pensato a una corrispondenza fra GANS e la quinta essenza degli alchimisti.
So he thought sorry, puoi ripetere un attimo, per quel motivo mi sono persa, lo puoi ridire un attimo?
Ho pensato a una corrispondenza tra i GANs, i campi plasmatici e la quinta essenza degli alchimisti.
So he thought a correlation between the fifth essence of the alchemist and the fields of the plasma. There is a connection, for a connection there. Sì? Vai, per favore.
Posso continuare? In
Sì.
un testo del 1200 di origine persiana si dice
in one test in the Persian history, alchemist.
Quando avrai la quinta essenza, potrai ricavare ogni altra quinta essenza da quello che vi porrai sopra.
So when if you can manage to have this fifth essence, then you can have the essence of everything that you connect it with. I don't know if it's clear what I said.
Mescolando una pianta a un GANS, se ne possono ottenere le caratteristiche?
If you mix the plants with the GANs, can you make Ottenere, come si dice? Ottain the... dillo, ottenere, cos'è che è ottenere?
Le caratteristiche.
Can you obtain the characteristic of this
Of,
plant?
Yes. It's been
Sì.
done by many knowledge seekers.
Sì, è stato fatto da tanti
Depends what
ricercatori.
let me explain. Depends what gas you use and how you use it.
Dipende che tipo di ganze tu usi
Eh.
e come le usi.
In the lab, we use the same material producing gases in 2-3 different ways from it.
E nel nostro laboratorio noi usiamo due o tre tipi di GANs. Mr. Cash, you use 2-3 type of GANs?
From the same material, yes.
Dallo stesso materiale.
Well,
Usually depends what you want to use it for and what is the content of that leaf.
È molto importante capire per cosa tu lo vuoi usare e quali sono i contenuti di questa foglia.
You have
Io
to understand a deeper way the feel, the strength of the leaf.
Tu devi
If you
capire,
don't follow what is in the leaf and you're just trying to make a answer with whatever shape, you'll find out you miss part of it and you don't see the effect of it. You have not understood the science, so you don't follow it the way it should be. And then part missing, and then you say it doesn't work or doesn't have the energy. It has energy. How have you created that condition to embrace all the properties that you see that leaf has? If you miss one of the energy properties of it, so you don't see the effect of it. And then you say it doesn't work. It works. You haven't understood how to interact or how to bring all the properties out. When you have let's say, a leaf, which let's say like mint, what are the contents of it? And how have you made a connection to all those contents, to all those materials? If you miss one part of it, mint would not have that effect that you're looking for. And so it doesn't work and it doesn't have, because you miss part of the connection. It has to be the full equation of the contents be transferred.
Praticamente sta dicendo che se non ha funzionato è perché tu non hai capito il processo in maniera completa. E quindi è per questo che non sei riuscito a trasferire anche i campi della pianta. Mr. Cash.
That's it.
Yeah.
I see that Lucio has put a hand up and opened a microphone here. Maybe he or she has something to say about that. Did you want to?
Vuoi parlare? Vuoi parlare? Stanno chiedendo se vuoi parlare.
Volevo solo chiedergli, io pensavo che un GANS possa essere utilizzato come la ricarica di un cellulare. Cioè...
Ok, aspetta un attimo, se no mi perdo. Mr. Cash, he just saying that he thought that you can use the GANS like when you charge a phone, he said.
Per aumentare la forza di un medicinale o di una pianta o di un materiale.
To enhance the power of a plant or a medicine.
You have to, yeah, but this is what I see with a lot of knowledge seekers. You have to understand, in principle, just because you put what we call gases or leaves in the GANS or nanocoated, you nanocoat the parts. When you nanocoat a leaf, when you put a GANS or the caustic on a leaf, you have to understand what are the interactions of the leaf, what energies can stay within the GANS. Many of you make GANSes, make nanocoating, and then you throw or get rid of the caustic. Have a look. is the bottom of the bucket clear? Or there are some bits floating? What is floating usually in your nano coating at the bottom of your caustic is the ganses that you will not have the effect of the property of when you want to use the ganses which are left you want to wash, or you think you can put them in and create the condition to produce ganses from them. When you nano coat a copper plate, watch what's at the bottom of it. Those are ganses, and the properties of the copper isotopes that you will not have when you produce the gans of the copper. I've seen many knowledge seekers do this. It's caustic, just get rid of it. But what is at the bottom is the spectrum of the ganses which you lose. It's the same when you nano coat or what you could produce ganses, put caustic on leaves. Knowledge seekers have to become more precise. And then could be what you're throwing away is what is needed in the gans itself, which you're going to use to have the effect you're expecting.
So it just saying, sta dicendo praticamente che noi dobbiamo essere più precisi quando facciamo gli esperimenti, perché quello che tu poi trovi nel fondo della soda caustica può essere le gans che ti servono nel processo.
Ok, grazie.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Any
you.
other question? Thank you very much. Any other question?
Lucio,
Stefania, posso?
sì.
Oh, we're going all
dunque.
Italian now. That's good.
Buonasera, buonasera Mr. Cash. Sappiamo dunque, allora, sappiamo che l'energia elettrica è carbonio C12. Se vuoi traduci riga per riga.
Me lo puoi ripetere questo? We know that the electric current it's carbon 12.
Esatto. Sappiamo che i condensatori plasmatici sono dei convertitori di energia plasmatica in energia elettrica.
We know that the plasma converter, cos'è che me lo puoi ripetere ancora, Lucio?
Sappiamo che i condensatori plasmatici sono dei convertitori di energia plasmatica in energia elettrica.
Ah sì, we know that the plasma converter are they converting the plasma in electric energy. No,
Sappiamo
electric
che,
energy.
sappiamo che il MAGRAV è un generatore di plasma e non è un generatore elettrico.
We know that the MAGRAV is a generating plasma and not generating electricity.
Sappiamo che ha bisogno di un battito.
We know that it needs a bit.
La domanda è come deve essere questo battito?
My question is, which type of bit I'm looking for? How has to be this bit?
Il battito è in funzione di cosa? E come deve essere? Io ad esempio...
Sorry, the bit has to be in function of what? And how has to be this bit? For example?
Io per esempio ho messo un piccolo carico LED alternato con un grande carico LED.
For example, I put a small LED that alternate connected to a bigger LED that alternate the load.
Esatto. Ma come devono questi due carichi, come devono battere, come devono alternarsi?
So these two carichi, come si dice in inglese? Carichi. These two
load.
Charge. Load.
Load.
Yeah, how they have to alternate each other. So did you understand?
No. Let me explain to you if you can. I understand. I think I understand what he's trying to say.
Pensa che lui ha capito quello che stai dicendo.
You got to understand, look at the heartbeat of the man. And look at all the components which are within the structure of the body of the man. And the heartbeat of the man connects to all of them for them to function, to give energy and release energy and absorb energy. So when you look at the heartbeat of the man, is the balanced combination of all the elements, heartbeat within the structure of the man that is acceptable. If it's not there, they are not working, they're not there. This is why when your heartbeat changes, your functionality of your skin, your liver, your kidney, and everything else changes. Because it has to adjust with the heartbeat. A young heart at a certain age, when it's born to a certain age, absorbs and increases. And then the heartbeat changes around about 30, 35. And the whole metabolism of the body of the man, because of that, heartbeat changes. If we can keep a heartbeat at the same rate as we were born, we stay young. Because the cells' life with that heartbeat creates youth, creates creation of cells. They tell you to sport. Why? Increase the heartbeat. That they feel created by it, creates a condition that the cells of that beat exist in the body.
Yes.
And the heartbeat has to be natural heartbeat, not just putting on the electronic system and creating a pulse. It has to convert in the plasmatic pulse.
Sto dicendo praticamente che se tu guardi per esempio il battito del cuore è attaccato, è connesso a tutto il corpo e influenza tutto il corpo. E quindi quando il battito del cuore cambia, tutto il corpo cambia. Se tu avresti il cuore se tu mantieni il cuore del battito di un bambino, tu rimarresti sempre giovane. Praticamente sto dicendo questa cosa qua. Quindi è il battito che ha un effetto su tutto il corpo, tutte le cellule, tutti gli organi, e deve essere connesso a tutto, e tutto è connesso al cuore. I translate in short what you said, Mr. Cash. I think.
Thanks very much.
Yeah.
Thank you. Any other question?
Altre domande?
Thank you very much.
Grazie. Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Grazie,
Thank you very
Mr.
much.
Cash. Grazie moltissimo. Grazie.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other question?
Altre domande?
Can you switch?
Yeah, I'm muted. Okay, we have.
We always have this communication problem with the Italians, and it doesn't happen with nobody else.
It's interesting that way.
I think we don't have it with nobody else except Italian. What do you call it, Stefania? Okay. Any other question?
Yeah, perhaps we can move to a question from Jan in YouTube. And it has to do with the Russian and Ukraine crisis and the idea of peace. He says, how can we elevate the souls of both Russian and Ukraine representatives that are in meeting right now to reach a truce?
I'm going to show you something. The picture you see. The carte blanche of the war in Ukraine was given to Putin with this picture. When the Pope on 23rd went to the Russian embassy in Rome. In the history of the Catholic Church, more or less, ever happened, seldom happened, never happened, that the Pope has gone to an embassy. Openly. The way what we see in this picture. The Americans and Western nations knew that Russia is going in. They knew they cannot touch the Russian army. They tried to arm from outside. But this picture, when I saw it, go back to what I said 3-4 weeks ago, I think it was in the American teaching, and in a couple of other teachings, is the war between the Russian Church and the Catholic Church. The war you see today is back to the war between different divisions of Christianity. And this picture by Pope going to Vatican, going to the Russian Church, is accepting the defeat by the Vatican. And Vatican has underwritten all the damages, every bullet Russia will use in Ukraine. It was the Catholic Church which went to dominate the Russian Church, and the Russian Church went to this military, which is the Russian army, to defend the Church of, well, Orthodox Church of Russia. They knew, everybody, the Americans knew, the Chinese knew, the Europeans knew that they were poked by the Catholic Church to start problem in Ukraine, that we forced the Russian Church to have to become becomes under our control, and the Russian Church would not accept it and asked Putin to wipe out, to go and get the nation back, which is Ukraine. And Pope on 23rd knew that he has to accept and underwrite the losses. This walk here to the Russian Church, to the Russian embassy in Rome, is a defeated man accepting the defeat and prepared to pay all the penalties. And now the Russians have a carte blanche. Every bomb they drop in Ukraine, every bullet they use in Ukraine is paid for by the Vatican. So they have no limitation what they put in. The more they put in, the more profit they make. It's the situation with the Second World War, where the Americans sent soldiers to Europe. American GIs had a chewing gum. American GI had a breakfast. In 1946, 1942, new present people of some of the European nations are still paying for that chewing gum because the American invoiced you. Because they won the war and you use them. Now it's the same situation. If you go back weeks ago, I explained 99% Russia will go into Ukraine because it's trying to get the motherland back in. Americans were poking to put all sorts of things in, and the Vatican was poking them because Vatican poked them everywhere, and they did the job. The Americans know they cannot face the Russians. There'll be a war, Third World War imminent. So everybody is standing outside, barking like a dog, and people are literally wiping out the house, cleaning out. But this cleaning out is two ways. First of all, not allowing nuclear weapons to enter, defense technology of outside enter into what used to be USSR, which Ukraine is part of it. And we see what we see today. Russians will be there. They wipe out. They use as many bullets, as many tanks. This is not a war. This is reclaiming back the Russian territory church back in order that the Catholic Church will never put foot into the what we call Orthodox Church of Russia. We could see this one 3 years ago. We knew this is coming out 5 years ago. Vatican financed the war, the split of the China. Chinese put them into Hong Kong and battered them, and Vatican paid for it heavily. Vatican paid for all the things you saw because they brought it under control. Because Vatican wanted to do what they did in Russia, bring Christians in. Diamonds flew in from Africa through the priests who came, people who came into China, and these diamonds were sold, finance riots and everything else, and the Chinese were waiting for it. This is the other way of doing it. They try to get rid of the communism to make a lot of Chinese Christians. You make 1 billion Chinese Christian, Vatican becomes triple billionaire. But it wouldn't happen because the structure was there, they knew, and they looked after it, they found out, and they took everybody out who was element. This walk of the Pope is for the first time, Catholic Church had to be stopped. They war with England for 300 years. They won the Church of England. The Queen is a servant of the Vatican at the moment. She has no more power, even though you call it the English Church. It's just like you take over a company, you let it run as it is, we don't interfere. You want to call whatever else, we own it, the profit is ours. And this financing of this, which Russia is developing to get the whole thing back under control, and the Vatican is paying for it, is exactly the repetition of, if you go back a few years ago, when the economy in Greece collapsed, the economy in Spain collapsed, Ireland economy collapsed, Portuguese economy collapsed, and suddenly, immaculately, we saw everything came back to normal. And they all came out of the problem because Vatican did not want the what we call Christian, what we call a structure of the EU to fail. So Vatican paid for all that. And then we saw immediately what I call not the Rothschild family behind it. When it came balanced, they took the money they invested from Vatican. They appointed the German chancellor. They took all the money out of Vatican to pay for the money they lent to Spain, to Greece, and the others come out of, if you remember, the financial collapse. It's the same process. Now, Vatican guaranteed the Americans, you poke in, you do whatever, NATO pokes in, we want to bring NATO in. Russia said no. And they put their forces there, and Vatican took a guarantee in this embassy meeting that do not cross Ukraine border, do not come in our territory, keep the Russian Orthodox Church in USSR. We pay for all the penalties. We were the naughty boys, we pay. A defeated man always goes to see the man who defeated him. This is a defeated man walking out of Russian embassy. And he's unwritten all the damages. You will see in the next few years, American churches, European churches will pay for this to the Vatican. Vatican has always cashed in their losses. This visit by Pope to the Russian embassy was to get sureties that Russia would not cross the border. You will see skirmishes, but this is a war of religion, not war of nations. And this is not a war, it's a correction and what we call bringing Ukraine back on the fold And what you start is, in a way, if you look at it, you have a brother, he's on his own, the other boys bully and attack. Till the big brother comes, they all run. But when the big brother comes, puts a hand in the pocket of the ones who are bullying, you have to pay what you damage for bullying my brother. And this is now Vatican pays. Don't worry, I don't have, we will see this, we were expecting this about 4 years ago. The delay in it has reasons, and Putin knew about this, and when it was requested by the leaders of the Orthodox Church in Russia to protect the motherland's church, he was waiting for that and he responded. He had the reason to show his power. He had the reason to protect the motherland's church. That's all it is. It will not become a war because this man guaranteed it by the payment. We'll see a number of people. In a way, if you look at it, is punishing those who went to bed with this man in Ukraine. It will take like, I was looking at it, it's possible we see a small repetition of Afghanistan by kamikaze wars and things, Europeans trying to show we are doing something over the Ukraine. As we saw for years, Russians stayed 15 years in Afghanistan and then they pulled out because they couldn't control it. But this time they control it. They'll be there about 3 to 6 months. Make sure nobody ever talks about NATO. People can go on the streets and do whatever they like, but changing the people on the top inside that the Vatican has no say in the running of Ukraine and the others. Because once Ukraine goes, Belarus goes. When Belarus goes, the other part of the, what we call Christian side corridor into Moscow opens, and it had to be closed. And this walk, you see, is a walk of the man of defeat. He, Catholic Church, risks that they're going to bring the Russian Orthodox Church and one of the richest churches in the world under control. And the only thing they didn't count that the church will go to Putin, and Putin wanted to confirm that he's there, and they watched it. We watched this mass work. When I spoke in other teaching, when we saw the Russian naval forces going through the Bosphorus up, we knew the war is on, or what we call cleansing of the Vatican out of USSR has started. You got to understand, church business is a financial business, has nothing to do with religion. It has to make profit. And when you create a war, it's a long-term investment. I explained this before. The son dies, the mother dies, the father dies in the Western Europe. This is the investment which the church, or what we call Vatican, put for that bullet to kill the father. They paid $10 for the bullet. The father dies, the mother dies, the child dies. The man goes a lifetime to church to pray for his son or the father or the mother and puts $1 at a time in. I invested $10 in a bullet. I get $100 investment for 40 years of life after that. Church business, God business is a money business and nothing else. That's why we said there is no, once you understand the power of the soul of the man, do you need this mayhem, the rope and the white frog? You see the shoulders are folded. You see head down. Just open this and you look. The chin folded. The shoulders are side down. This is a walk of a strong man defeated. Thinking a strong man defeated. Don't forget, Pope or Vatican has never sat down quiet. We have to see what they plan in the next 20 years in other part of Russia and the West. We will see more mayhem between the two churches unless we bring the light that God's word is within the soul of the man. Don't worry about this Ukraine business. Vatican has already paid for it. And they receive the bill every day. How many bullets used, how many soldiers, the food they used, the shoes they wore. Vatican has underwritten it. When the head of the Ukraine state says that Russians will pay for everything they do, all the damages, yes, no problem. Vatican's already paid us. We make a profit in the process. We'll do it for you. It brings a lot of jobs to the Russian industry. This is a dirty business of religion, and we are watching many people suffering because of it. And to them, it's irrelevant. This is the second time in past decade that Vatican has lost. Once the British took back what they gave in Libya, and now the second. The British monarchy took revenge on losing the Church of England to Vatican by taking $140 billion of gold from the vaults of Libya into the British monarchy and not the British government and the nation. All flowed directly into Bank of Scotland. I was explaining this last week when I was in London to somebody. All the wealth which is collected in the program financed by Vatican to get into Libya, to get the gold and share between Italian, French, British and the Germans and Vatican was taken by the British into Bank of Scotland, which is a Royal Bank, and not in the name of Royal Bank of Scotland, which is a national bank, assets of the nation. And they wouldn't give it, and that's why they got kicked out of the Brits, out of the EU. You didn't pay, we kick you out. When they kick out, what you have Brits exit is the consequence. Now we have to see what exit comes out of this. Would America pay for these damages, or who and how Vatican will build what we wanted to do? You didn't go, we pay for it. House of God never loses in the world of religion because it's a house of money, not God. Don't worry about Ukraine. You'll hear a lot of hullabaloo for next maybe 6 weeks. They'll change the government, they get paid when the Vatican transfers the gold and the reserves into the Church of Russia, because they have to pay the Church of Russia and they pay the army's expenses. They're making maybe 10-20 billion out of it in Moscow. We got to realize Keshe Foundation have very close advisors within the Vatican. Very, very close advisors. We know, we are informed continuously of what is and what is about to happen. A pope has never gone to an embassy to ask to stop a war. Vatican always created war and accepted to pay for it. But the Russian was not prepared to pull back. They said, we are here, we're going to show, we're going to stay and you pay. You have to see what checkbook is under that clause that the Vatican has written for the war as a penalty. Don't worry about Ukraine. You won't go beyond the boundaries of Ukraine to Romania and other places. The church made a move to put pressure on Ukraine to get the Church of Russia to bend. And they said, you play this time with a superpower, both in religion and military forces. You will not see Americans interfering or the Europeans. They cannot do because they already accepted defeat and they listen to Vatican. Because deal is done. Now the boys play, and some of the old weapon machinery in the Russian army gets used. And the Vatican pays every tank you see on the streets, every fuel, every smoke you see in the back of the tank. Vatican has already unwritten as a defeated man. They will not go beyond Ukrainian border. The only problem is a lot of people will suffer with it, and this is what churches has been, to create suffering, not there to bring healing. Any other question?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kesh. We have some other questions in the Q&A here. Perhaps I'll get down to Salamia's, which is more what the current topic is. She is asking, what is the definition of war? What is the definition of peace? What is the definition of correction?
War, we all know, is destroying. Peace is understanding and tolerating. And correction is when something goes slightly out of rail towards a war, conflict, you bring it back into peace and understanding. It's very simple. Accommodating. They should, as I said, even when we launched the signing of peace, we always said there will be skirmishes. The skirmishes will be on till gradually nobody plays games anymore, and then we'll find a solution. We see a little bit of skirmishes in 2 or 3 places around the world, but we don't hear the wars we used to hear. The Vietnam War, the Middle East War, all finished. This is what's called stopping back of hand of a person who wanted to be a bit too greedy. We should not see wars. We are going the path of development of new technologies where wars have no room. We don't need, we fought for what? Food, water. In the very near future, we'll bring you and show you another side to the whole of the structure. Nations have to invest in technologies which brings comfort, new adventures and new joys and pleasures to their citizens and the citizens of the world. And this is what has to be the job of the world leaders, not to create war, not to create separation. And this comes with new technologies. When you create a condition that people can help themselves, feed themselves, and create new conditions that does not create war in a way trying to get what I don't have. Peace means accepting the condition and tolerating each other and living with each other. Understanding. As I said, Keshe Foundation stands for peace, technology in exchange for peace. We give you the technology, you find a way you can be, or you live with it to create peace for you and your life. Rick, you can see a beautiful face. You need to change your screen.
Sorry, couldn't hear that, Mr. Kesh. Could you repeat?
We see your beautiful face. And
okay, gotcha. Let me share the screen here. Oh, it came through big, yeah. Okay, there we go.
Any other? We're still flat line. It's okay, we opened up. Any other question?
Okay, we have a question from Galeb in the Q&A. I wonder if we may know more about the conditions of existence of the 8th chakra and how it is exactly connected to number 9.
You have to explain the 8th chakra and the 9th chakra. I think we have Azar. Azar will come in very quickly to explain to you.
Well, her microphone is available there if she wants to speak.
Hi, Mr. Kesh. Again, I really don't know anything about.
I thought you knew everything about chakras.
No, I mean, I know about 7 chakras and 144 other chakras, but not 8 and 9.
You have to ask the person who speaks about the 8 and 9 what they mean.
Because, yeah, I don't know if they explain what is 8 and 9, where is it located, then maybe I could say something.
I thought you were knowledgeable. You traveled the whole world finding chakras.
Because
You can't have 144 if you don't know the 8 and 9.
No, 144 is inside the body. 8 and 9 must be outside.
I look on chakras in the Google, and it talks about the 7 chakras, the beginner's guide to 7 chakras, and 7 chakras explained, and complete guide to 7 chakras, and so on and so forth. I can try to search for 8
and 9 chakras.
8 and 9. See if that
Thank
registers.
you, Google.
Oh, we have the ultimate guide to the 22 chakras, or the spiritual chakra 8 to 12. And here's the 8th.
Oh, someone's got a cock anywhere near.
Because the message, there's no 8 and 9 too.
Okay, what are the 8 and 9?
Well, it's according to this, let me see here. Chakra 8th is all about dealing with karmic residue. Let's see if there's something that says something more about it.
Do you have a cock in the house somewhere? Look, Rick?
The rooster crows here, usually toward the end of a workshop, sometimes conveniently so. Yeah, it's the neighbors, and they come and visit.
Has the bear moved out?
Yeah, the bear apparently has moved out. I haven't actually gone under to check because it's kind of dark and scary under there. But
it's hibernating there through the spring.
Yeah, he's gone to somewhere else, and spring will be here shortly, and he'll be up in the mountains somewhere. The 8th, okay, if we look at the chakras, they start at 1 is the base chakra, root chakra, 2 is the sacral chakra, 3 is the solar plexus, 4 is the heart, 5 is the throat, 6 is the third eye, 7 is the crown chakra, 8th is the soul star chakra, 9th is the spirit chakra, 10th is the universal chakra, 11th would be galactic.
Stop. Now that we know the soul of the man and the soul of physicality, called the spirit, is within the man, so 8 and 9 is inside. So what are we going to do with it? The chakras falling down by 2 each.
But the idea is that you can leave through your crown chakra to do your soul travel or other work that way, I think, or connect with those levels at least.
So with the Keshe Foundation knowledge, we have destroyed the chakra business, or we have to recorrect it. Now that we know the soul of them, we don't need to go out to chakra 8.
You go in. You go in for 8.
And 9.
So you go to the crown, and that's where you go in to 8, 9, 10, 11.
Yeah.
And 12 is the divine or source chakra,
which is the center of the soul.
Right. Okay. That totally makes sense.
Okay. Now we understood that. That's something interesting I never knew. So we have solved that problem with the soul and the spirit, and now we know where we are.
Mr. Kesh, can I ask you a question?
You always ask a question, doesn't mean you're going to get the answer, but Try.
My question is about sulfur, because the function of sulfur in the body has to do with the
Cleansing.
with the DNA and repair of DNA, all that. But then one of the teaching, because I have to teach about this tomorrow, and then I was listening to your teaching, and you talk about sulfur, and then GANs of sulfur, and you were talking about the functionality of it and the role it plays has to do if you add a little bit of GANs of sulfur to your to the cup, for example, your cup you make that you drink water from it, actually it can correct your structure fundamentally. And then you talk about if you put say for example, if you look at the cup, in that teaching you talk about if you take the top part of the cup as your head and the middle part as your digestive system and lower part as your extremities and genital system, then if you put the patches on the, I wasn't clear, I didn't understand this part, that you put the patches on the cup and then you kind of pinpoint the straw that you want to drink from certain point of the cup. If you drink that part of it, you can actually pinpoint to your kidney or your liver or your stomach, any of that. So I wasn't, that's my question. I don't know if I was clear about that.
Well, this is part of the teaching. This is part of the medical teaching you're going into.
No, it's not a medical teaching. These are all teaching that I'm teaching.
All teaching.
This is actually, this is in agriculture blueprint week that we had. And this is part of that, which came up, part of the agriculture. But
the application of the sulfur and phosphor in the body of the man can be controlled. Always can be controlled, and you can do it in different ways. The way you put a patch in the body, you can put a patch in the cup and change conversion of the fields. If you look at it, we do that in the cups which Keshe Foundation sells. We put little containers around the plate, a cup, and then you see the effect of, and we produce different gases for what we call plasma conversion or attraction.
Mr. Keshe, when you see people's body structure, like the way they're standing, the way they holding the posture, and then with this, when we feed the emotion, especially have it just drop a sulfur in it, that can change them, can it?
What you mean exactly?
I mean, the positive, say a person is very, has a lack of self-confidence and the way they're standing. And then when you give them this, actually you will see in time, they're changing. The way they're standing, the way they're holding themselves, it changes. Am I correct?
You see, when you change the field, the energies of the body, of the soul, you change the physicality. When you see people with ILS, with MS, with fibromyalgia, with CVS, they all have a bent backwards, submission, submissive. And when you strengthen their soul, when you strengthen their, you change the atmosphere within the body of energy fields. You see them upright, they stand up straight. And when they change, they create different fields. When you're bending in, you create a field of submission. When you stand out, you create after what you call being able to handle. We talked about this in one of the teachings a long time ago. I used to take pictures of the people before and after. You see totally different posture. Why certain people go into repetitive, the same problem in their relationships or in their lifestyle? Because they have that posture which creates that condition which the people put them in there. You're a dog, you stay in the kennel. You're a cat, you stay there. You're a lion, you go in the jungle. And our posture dictates, I'm a cat, I'm a dog, I'm a lion. And you can make a mat, but again, changes self-confidence. Because the emotion changes. Shall we go for a break? We've been going for a bit.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Kish.
Thank you very much.
Okay, sure, Mr. Kesh. We can take a break here now and come back in a few minutes.